I sent the invitation on December 1st. Not a phone call, not a casual text, a proper invitation through the family group chat, the one we'd used for years to coordinate birthdays and holidays and the occasional emergency. 3 weeks' notice. Plenty of time for everyone to clear their schedules. Christmas dinner at my place, 6 p.m. Turkey, all the sides. Would love to see everyone. I even added a small tree emoji, made it feel festive. The responses trickled in over the next few days. Vague acknowledgments. We'll see. Maybe. Might be busy. No commitments, no enthusiasm. Just enough to keep me dangling without outright refusing. I should have known then. But hope is a stubborn thing when it comes to your own children. I'm Robert Hensley, 59 years old. For the past 23 years, I've worked as a facilities coordinator for commercial properties across the greater Phoenix area. Not glamorous work. I manage access systems, vendor contracts, maintenance schedules. I make sure buildings open when they're supposed to, close when they're supposed to, and don't fall apart in between. It's steady work, boring work. The kind of work nobody notices until something goes wrong. My wife passed 6 years ago. Cancer. Fast and brutal. The kids came to the funeral, stayed for a week, then scattered back to their lives. I understood. They had responsibilities, careers, families of their own. I had 3 children, all adults now, all living within 30 miles of me. Daniel, my oldest, is 34, works in commercial real estate investment, married to a woman named Vanessa, who comes from old Phoenix money. They live in Paradise Valley in a house with a fountain in the driveway. Daniel used to call me every Sunday, then every other Sunday, then once a month, then only when he needed something. Grace is 31, middle child, works as a pediatric nurse, which always made me proud. Married to a man named Trevor, who manages a boutique hotel downtown. Grace was always the peacemaker, the one who tried to smooth things over. But in the last year, even her calls had stopped. Trevor didn't like conflict, she'd explained once, preferred to keep things positive. The youngest is Ethan, 28, software developer, living with his girlfriend Melissa in Tempe. Ethan had always been sharp-tongued even as a kid, quick with a joke, quicker with a cut. The kind of person who mistakes cruelty for honesty and calls it being real. I raised them alone after their mother died. Worked double shifts sometimes to keep them in good schools, good clothes, good opportunities. Never asked for gratitude. Never expected worship. Just wanted to matter in their lives the way they mattered in mine. December rolled on. I followed up twice in the group chat. Casual reminders. Looking forward to seeing everyone on the 25th. Then, a week before Christmas, let me know if there's anything special you'd like me to make. Silence. Not even a thumbs-up reaction. On December 23rd, I went to 3 different grocery stores to find everything I needed. A 22-pound turkey from Safeway, fresh herbs from Whole Foods, the specific brand of cranberry sauce Grace used to love from a specialty market on the east side. I bought good wine, expensive wine, the kind I never bought for myself. I spent Christmas Eve day cleaning the house. I hadn't entertained in months. Dust had settled on surfaces I didn't normally notice. I vacuumed, scrubbed the bathroom, changed the sheets in the guest rooms, just in case anyone wanted to stay over. Unlikely, but possible. The dining table seats 8. I set it for 7. Myself, 3 kids, 3 spouses, white tablecloth I'd ironed that morning, the good china we'd used when their mother was alive, cloth napkins, candles. I started cooking at 4 a.m. on Christmas Day. The turkey went in first, slow roasted, then the sides, mashed potatoes, green bean casserole, sweet potato soufflé, stuffing made from scratch, the way my wife used to make it. I worked methodically, measuring ingredients, setting timers, tasting and adjusting. By noon, the house smelled perfect, like the Christmases we used to have when the kids were young and everything felt easy. I checked my phone. No new messages. At 2 p.m., I sent one final message to the group chat. Everything's ready. Can't wait to see you all at 6. 3 check marks appeared. Read receipts. All 3 of them had seen it. No responses. I showered, shaved, put on the nice sweater Grace had given me 2 Christmases ago, navy blue. She'd said it brought out my eyes. I wondered if she'd even remember buying it. At 5:30, I opened the wine to let it breathe. At 5:45, I turned on the porch light. At 6 p.m. exactly, I stood by the window and watched the empty street. 6:15. Nothing. 6:30. I called Daniel. Straight to voicemail. 6:45. I texted Grace directly. You coming? 3 check marks. No reply. 7 p.m. I sat down at the head of the table and stared at the 6 empty place settings. The turkey was perfect. Golden skin, crispy. The meat would be tender and juicy. The sides were still warm in their dishes. Everything was exactly right, except no one was coming. I didn't eat. Couldn't. I just sat there, looking at the food I'd spent 2 days preparing and tried to understand what I'd done wrong. At 9 p.m., my phone buzzed. The family group chat. Ethan had sent a message. Dude, did you seriously think we were coming? Another message. Grace this time. We talked about this weeks ago. Daniel. You never listen, Dad. I stared at the screen. They'd talked about it weeks ago without telling me. Ethan again. Annoying old man, eat alone. 3 laughing emojis. Then Melissa, Ethan's girlfriend, chimed in. Savage lol. Trevor, Grace's husband. Maybe next year actually confirm with people. Vanessa, Daniel's wife. This is why we don't engage. The messages kept coming. Little jabs, inside jokes. They were all online, all together somewhere, laughing about me. I set the phone down carefully on the table. My hands weren't shaking. That surprised me. I thought they would be. Thought I'd feel rage or heartbreak or something explosive. Instead, I felt cold, very, very cold. I stood up, walked to the kitchen, found a plastic container and started packing up food. Turkey, sides, everything. I worked mechanically, sealing lids, stacking containers in the refrigerator. When I was done, I cleared the table, washed the dishes, folded the tablecloth, put away the china. By 11 p.m., the house looked normal again, like nothing had happened. I went upstairs to my office, opened my laptop, started going through files. I manage 47 commercial properties across Phoenix, office buildings, retail centers, warehouses, storage facilities. My company trusts me with access codes, vendor contracts, lease agreements, 23 years of accumulated authority. I also manage something else. Something my children don't know about. When my wife died, I didn't just grieve. I prepared. I set up trusts, holding companies, contract clauses. I learned every legal mechanism available to someone in my position. I made myself useful to people who owned things, made myself indispensable, and in the process, I became the invisible infrastructure that holds several lives together, including my children's. Daniel's real estate investment firm? I manage 3 of their primary storage facilities. His inventory, his files. His access depends on contracts I negotiate. Grace and Trevor's boutique hotel? I don't manage the building, but I manage the company that services their HVAC, their security systems, their elevators. Trevor signed a year-long exclusive contract with my vendor partners, a contract I brokered. Ethan's software startup? They lease office space in a building I coordinate. Their servers are in a climate-controlled room that requires my authorization to access outside business hours. They didn't know any of this because they never asked what I did for a living. To them, I was just dad who works in buildings. Boring, obsolete, irrelevant. I opened a spreadsheet, started making a list. At midnight, I took a screenshot of the group chat messages. Every single one. Backed them up to 3 different locations. Then I put on my coat and left the house. Phoenix is quiet on Christmas night. Most people are inside with their families. The streets are empty, clean. I drove downtown, parked in a loading zone behind one of the properties I manage. Used my master key to access the service entrance. Took the elevator to the 3rd floor. The building was dark, silent. Just me and the hum of HVAC systems. I walked to the security office, logged into the access control system, started making changes, scheduled changes, the kind that wouldn't trigger immediate alerts but would activate precisely when I wanted them to. I worked for 2 hours, methodical, careful. Every change documented in the system exactly as protocol required. Nothing illegal, nothing that would raise red flags during an audit. Just adjustments, routine maintenance, contract compliance updates. At 2 a.m. I locked up, drove to the next location, repeated the process. By 4 a.m. I'd visited 6 buildings, made changes in all of them. I drove home as the sky started to lighten, parked in my driveway, sat in the car for a few minutes, watching the sunrise. Then I went inside, made coffee, sat at my kitchen table, and waited for morning. Before we go any further, hit the hype button, take a second to subscribe and like the video. It really helps the channel grow. And tell us in the comments, what would you do in this situation? The first call came at 7:43 a.m. Daniel. I let it ring, watched his name flash on the screen until it went to voicemail. 30 seconds later, he called again, then again. I sipped my coffee and stared out the window at the Christmas lights still strung on my neighbor's house. At 8:15, Grace called. I ignored it. At 8:30, Ethan. Ignored. The group chat started exploding. I opened it and read without responding. Daniel. Dad, what the hell did you do? Grace. Dad, please pick up. Ethan. This isn't funny. Call me now. More messages flooded in. Panicked, confused, angry. I took another sip of coffee. It had gone cold, but I didn't care. My phone rang again. Daniel. I answered this time. What did you do? His voice was tight, controlled, the voice he used with difficult clients. Good morning to you too. I can't access my storage units, none of them. The system says my access has been suspended. Really? I kept my tone mild, curious. That's strange. Don't play dumb. You manage those facilities. Fix it. I manage 47 properties, Daniel. I can't keep track of every individual access credential. Have you tried calling the management office? It's December 26th. They're closed until the 28th. Ah, well, that is unfortunate. Silence on his end. Then, you did this on purpose. Did what, exactly? Suspended my access. You're angry about yesterday. Yesterday? I let the word hang. You mean Christmas? The dinner nobody came to? Dad, we didn't think you were serious. I sent 3 reminders over 3 weeks. I bought food for 7 people. I cooked for 15 hours. We had other plans, which you didn't mention until after the meal was already cold. His voice shifted, harder. Look, I'm sorry you're upset, but this is ridiculous. I need access to my units. I have clients flying in next week. Their inventory is in there. Then I suggest you contact the property management company when they reopen. I'm contacting you. You're the facilities coordinator. And I've followed all proper protocols. Your access suspension was triggered by a contract compliance issue. What compliance issue? I'm not authorized to discuss specific account details over the phone. You'll need to review the terms of your rental agreement. This is bullshit. Have a good day, Daniel. I hung up. The phone immediately rang again. I declined the call. Grace called next. I answered on the 4th ring. Dad, what's going on? Her voice was softer, worried. Trevor's getting calls from the hotel. Something about the maintenance systems? What about them? They're locked out. The HVAC controls, the security panels, everything's showing an access error. Have they tried contacting the service company? They did, The service company said there's a contract issue that needs to be resolved with you. Me? I'm just the liaison. The hotel signed an exclusive service agreement. If there's a contract dispute, Trevor needs to review the terms. Dad, please. We have guests. The heating system won't respond to manual controls. That's what happens when you rely entirely on automated systems. There should be emergency overrides. There are, but they require a master access code that only the service company has. And they'll provide it once the contract situation is clarified. What contract situation? Again, I can't discuss specific account details. Trevor will need to review his paperwork. This is because of yesterday, isn't it? I paused. Took a breath. Yesterday, Grace, I sat alone in my house with enough food for 7 people. I waited for 3 hours, and while I waited, my children were somewhere else, laughing about me in a group chat. Her voice got quiet. We didn't mean it like that. How did you mean it? It was just, we were joking around. We didn't think you'd take it so seriously. You called me an annoying old man and told me to eat alone. On Christmas. Ethan said that, not me. You didn't stop him. None of you did. You just piled on. Silence. Fix the hotel access, Dad. Please. I can't fix what isn't broken. The systems are working exactly as designed. What does that mean? It means Trevor signed a contract he didn't read carefully, and now he's learning what the terms actually say. You're punishing us. I'm enforcing contracts. It's literally my job. This isn't about contracts. You're right. It's about respect. Something I clearly don't have from my own children. I hung up. Ethan didn't call. He texted instead, a long stream of messages, each angrier than the last. We can't get into the server room. Our client demo is in 2 hours. Answer your goddamn phone. This is illegal. I'm calling a lawyer. I typed a single response. Your lease agreement requires 48-hour notice for after-hours server room access. You didn't provide notice. The room is locked per building policy. Ethan. We've been accessing it for months without notice. Me. Yes. As a courtesy. Courtesy I'm no longer extending. Ethan. You're a petty old asshole. I didn't respond to that one. At 9 a.m., Vanessa called. Daniel's wife. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. Mr. Hensley. Her voice was ice. Pure. I don't know what kind of game you're playing, but it ends now. Good morning, Vanessa. Daniel needs access to his storage units, immediately. As I told him, that's a contract compliance matter. There is no contract compliance matter. You invented it. The rental agreements clearly state that access can be suspended if payment processing information becomes outdated, or if the account holder fails to maintain current contact information. Daniel's billing email hasn't been updated in 2 years. That's absurd. The payments go through fine. For now. But the contract requires current information on file. He was sent a notice 3 months ago requesting updated details. He never responded. He never got a notice. The system shows it was sent to the email address on file, the one he hasn't updated. She was quiet for a moment. I could almost hear her calculating. This is harassment. This is property management. If Daniel feels he's been treated unfairly, he's welcome to file a formal complaint with the management company. He will. Good. They reopen on the 28th. He can call them then. You're doing this because your feelings got hurt. I'm doing my job, Vanessa. The same job I've done for 23 years. The same job that's kept your husband's business running smoothly, until now, apparently. Daniel's lawyers will be in touch. I'll look forward to it. She hung up without saying goodbye. I set the phone down and looked around my kitchen. The same kitchen where I'd prepared a Christmas dinner for people who couldn't be bothered to show up. The same kitchen where my wife used to bake cookies with the kids when they were small. The same kitchen that had been empty for 6 years, except for me. I wasn't angry anymore. Anger was hot and messy and exhausting. This was something else, something colder, cleaner. I opened my laptop and checked the building access logs. Everything was functioning perfectly. Daniel's credentials had been suspended at 6 a.m. exactly as I'd scheduled. Grace's hotel service company had been locked out at 7. Ethan's after-hours server access had expired at midnight. All according to contract, all completely legal, all utterly devastating. The group chat continued to blow up. Messages from all 3 kids, from their spouses, increasingly desperate. I read them all, responded to none. At 10 a.m., I got a call from an unknown number. I answered. "Mr. Hensley, this is Patricia Vance from Desert Hills Property Management." My supervisor. This was faster than I'd expected. "Good morning, Patricia. I'm getting some unusual calls this morning. Complaints about access suspensions at several of your properties." "Yes, routine compliance enforcement. On December 26th? The scheduling system doesn't recognize holidays." "Robert, I need you to explain what's happening. I have 3 different clients claiming you've locked them out of their spaces without warning. Each situation involves a contract violation. Daniel Hensley failed to update account information per his rental agreement. The boutique hotel on Central has a service dispute that's above my authorization level, and the tech startup in Building 17 requested after-hours access without providing the required notice." "Daniel Hensley, that's your son?" "Yes." Pause. "Is this personal?" "It's contractual. If he believes the suspension is unwarranted, he can file an appeal when the office reopens." "Robert, Patricia, I've worked for this company for 23 years. I've never violated a protocol. I've never abused my position. I've never suspended anyone's access without documented cause. Everything I've done is by the book. If you'd like to review the specific cases, I can send you the documentation." Another pause, longer this time. "Send me the files." "Of course. And Robert, be very sure you're doing this for the right reasons." "I am." I hung up and immediately forwarded her the contract documentation. Every email, every clause, every prior notice, a paper trail so clean it could pass any audit, because I'd been planning this for 3 months, not the Christmas dinner. That was real. I genuinely hoped they'd come. But the access suspensions, the contract enforcement, I'd been preparing those contingencies since September, when I first noticed how rarely my kids called. When I first felt that shift from busy to dismissive. When I first understood that I was becoming invisible to them. I'd hoped I wouldn't need to use it. They proved me wrong. I didn't sleep that night. Sat in my recliner with the lights off and listened to the house settle around me. The refrigerator hummed, the heater kicked on and off. Outside, a dog barked somewhere in the distance. Normal sounds, regular sounds, except nothing felt normal anymore. At 4 a.m. I gave up on sleep, made coffee, sat at my kitchen table with my laptop and started going through files again. I'd been thinking about what Ethan had said, about being empty, about becoming something I never meant to be. Maybe he was right, but maybe being empty was better than being hurt. At 6 a.m. I showered, dressed, drove to work. Patricia was already there when I arrived at 7:30. "You look like hell," she said. "Didn't sleep." "Family stuff?" "Always." She studied me. "Robert, I'm going to ask you something personal." "Okay. Do you regret this?" "Which part?" "All of it. The enforcement, the contracts, the drama." I thought about it. Really thought. No. Why not? Because they needed to learn, and I needed to stop pretending. Pretending what? That we were a family. We're not. We're people who used to be related. She sighed. "That's a lonely way to live." "It's an honest way to live." "Those aren't mutually exclusive." "Apparently they are." She turned back to her computer. "The appeals committee meets this afternoon. Decisions should be final by tomorrow morning." "And then?" "And then your kids get their access back, and you go back to being a facilities coordinator, and hopefully everyone moves on." Hopefully. But I didn't believe it, and I could tell she didn't either. I spent the day doing inspections, checking buildings, testing systems, mundane work that required just enough focus to keep my mind busy. At 3 p.m., I got a call from an unknown number. Didn't recognize it. Answered anyway. Robert Hensley? Yes. This is Detective Sarah Morrison with Phoenix PD. I need to ask you some questions about an incident last night. My stomach tightened. What incident? Your son Ethan Hensley filed a report claiming you assaulted him. That's not accurate. Can you tell me what happened? I explained. The broken lamp, his attack, my defense, every detail. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said, "Do you have any injuries?" Bruises on my forearm from blocking the lamp. Can you document those? Yes. Please do. And send me photos. We'll need them for the report. Am I being charged with something? Not at this time, but I need to complete the investigation. Do you have any witnesses who can verify your account? No. We were alone. I see. Mr. Hensley, your son claims you've been harassing him and his siblings, sabotaging their businesses. Is there any truth to that? I've been enforcing contract violations at properties I manage. His siblings are affected because they violated those contracts. This is a family dispute? It started as one, now it's just business. Mr. Hensley, I'm going to be honest with you. This looks messy. Family altercation, business conflicts, property access issues. You need to be very careful how you proceed. I'm following all policies and procedures. I'm sure you are, but policies don't prevent lawsuits or criminal charges. Are you charging me? Not yet, but your son is pushing for it, and if there's any evidence of abuse of authority, things could get complicated fast. I understand. Good. Send me those photos, and maybe consider backing off whatever you're doing with your kids' businesses. That's not going to happen. Why not? Because I'm right, and I'm tired of being treated like I'm wrong. Silence. Then, that's a pride thing, isn't it? It's a respect thing. Respect doesn't pay legal bills, Mr. Hensley. Neither does backing down. She sighed. I'll be in touch. She hung up. I sat in my truck outside a warehouse in Tempe and wondered how far this would go, how much they'd push, how much I'd resist. All the way, I realized. I'd go all the way, because there was nothing left to lose. At 5 p.m., I drove to the main office. Patricia was still there. Appeals committee finished, she said. Want to know the results? Not particularly. All 3 appeals approved. Access will be restored tomorrow morning. Okay. You don't seem surprised. I'm not. The violations were technical. The committee would prioritize business continuity. So you knew this would happen? I expected it. Then what was the point? 5 days. 5 days of them understanding what it feels like when the ground shifts, when support disappears, when the person they took for granted stops being available. And you think 5 days taught them anything? Probably not, but it taught me something. What? That I don't need them, that I can function fine without their approval or presence, that whatever grief I was carrying about losing my family, it's gone now. She looked sad. That's not grief leaving, Robert. That's numbness setting in. Maybe, but numb is better than bleeding. I left, drove home through rush hour traffic. The radio was playing Christmas music. I turned it off. At home, I made dinner, chicken and rice, simple, efficient. December 28th. The office was fully staffed now, post-holiday normalization, people returning to routine. I worked through my inspection schedule, building after building, checking systems, verifying protocols, everything running smoothly. At 11 a.m., Patricia called me into her office. We have a problem, she said. What kind? Legal kind. I just got served with 3 separate lawsuits, all naming you specifically. Daniel, Grace's husband, and Ethan? How did you know? Vanessa warned me last night. She came to see you? Tried to negotiate. Did it work? No. Patricia rubbed her temples. Robert, the company can't be involved in your family disputes. These suits claim you abused your position, That's a liability issue. The suits are baseless. Maybe, but defending them costs money and creates bad publicity. Property owners don't want their facilities coordinator embroiled in family lawsuits. So you're firing me? I'm suspending you, with pay, pending resolution of the legal issues. I felt something shift in my chest. How long? However long it takes. Could be weeks, could be months. And my properties? We'll reassign them temporarily. To who? Marcus Williams. He's been asking for more responsibility. Marcus was competent, young, eager, exactly the kind of person who'd follow every rule and miss every nuance. He'll destroy my vendor relationships. Then maybe you should have thought about that before starting a war with your family. I didn't start anything. I ended it. Semantics, Robert. The result is the same. You're suspended, effective immediately. I stood. Am I allowed to collect my things? Yes, but security will escort you. You're treating me like a criminal. I'm treating you like a liability. There's a difference. I left her office. A security guard I'd known for 15 years escorted me to my desk, watched while I packed my personal items into a box, walked me to my truck, humiliating, but expected. I drove home, carried the box inside, set it on my kitchen counter, stared at it, 23 years in a cardboard box. My phone rang, unknown number. I answered. Mr. Hensley, this is Mark Brennan. I'm an attorney representing Trevor and Grace Walsh. What can I do for you, Mr. Brennan? I'm calling to inform you that we're seeking an emergency injunction to prevent any further interference with our client's business operations. I haven't interfered with anything. The HVAC suspension caused significant financial damages. We believe it was intentional and retaliatory. Believe whatever you want. The facts are documented. We also believe there's a pattern of abuse of authority. We're requesting a full audit of all your professional activities over the past 2 years. Request away. Mr. Hensley, I'm trying to avoid a protracted legal battle here. No, you're not. You're trying to intimidate me into backing down. I'm trying to give you an opportunity to settle this reasonably. There's nothing to settle. Your clients violated a contract. They experienced consequences. End of story. The contract terms were buried in fine print. The contract terms were on page 4 of a 7-page document. If your clients can't be bothered to read 7 pages before signing, that's not my problem. A court might disagree. Then take it to court. We will. Good. I'll see you there. I hung up. 3 lawsuits, suspended from work, estranged from family. Any sane person would have felt panic. I felt liberated. At 1 p.m., I got another call. Detective Morrison again. Mr. Hensley, I've completed my preliminary investigation into the assault claim. And, based on the evidence, I don't believe charges are warranted. Your injuries support your account of self-defense. The broken lamp pieces show a pattern consistent with your description. And your son has a history of volatile behavior that lends credibility to your version. So it's over? The criminal investigation is, but he could still pursue civil action. Let him. You're very calm about all this. I'm prepared. I noticed. You documented everything, photos, timestamps, even kept the broken lamp pieces. That's not normal behavior. I worked in facilities management for 23 years. Documentation is instinct, or paranoia, or experience with people who don't keep their word. She paused. Mr. Hensley, I see a lot of family disputes. Most of them are messy, emotional, irrational. But this is calculated, methodical, almost clinical. Is that a problem? It's unusual. Most people in your position would be trying to reconcile. You're building a legal fortress. Because reconciliation isn't possible. How do you know? Because some bridges once burned can't be rebuilt. That's a sad way to see the world. That's an accurate way to see my family. She sighed. Good luck, Mr. Hensley. I think you're going to need it. She hung up. I sat in my quiet house, and tried to remember what it felt like to hope for something, to want something other than silence and distance. Couldn't remember. At 3 p.m., I drove to the grocery store, bought food, came home, put it away, routine, mechanical, empty. At 5 p.m., my doorbell rang. I looked through the window. Grace, alone this time. I opened the door. She looked terrible. Hair pulled back, no makeup, swollen eyes from crying. "Can I come in?" Her voice was small. I stepped aside. She walked to the living room, sat on the couch, stared at her hands. Trevor left me. I sat in the chair across from her, said nothing. He said he can't handle the stress, the lawsuits, the financial pressure, everything. She wiped her eyes. "He's gone. I'm sorry." "Are you?" "Yes." "Really?" "Because you don't look sorry." "I'm sorry you're hurting. I'm not sorry about the choices that led here." She looked up at me. "You really think we deserved this?" "I think you made decisions without considering consequences, and now you're learning what consequences feel like." "I'm losing everything, Dad. My husband, my home, maybe even my job if this gets worse." "You're not losing everything. You're losing comfort, stability, the safety net you took for granted. That's everything." "No. Everything is health, life, capability. You have all of those. Everything else is just circumstances." "Easy for you to say. You're not the one watching your life collapse." "Aren't I? I lost my wife, lost my children, lost my job. What exactly do you think I'm watching?" "That's different." "How?" "You chose this. We didn't. You chose to mock me, to exclude me, to treat me like I was disposable. Those were choices. We made a mistake." "No. You made a series of decisions over several years that culminated in a moment of cruelty. That's not a mistake. That's a pattern." She stood up, paced. "I came here hoping you'd help me." "Help you how?" "Call off the lawsuits, fix the contracts, give me some breathing room." "I can't call off lawsuits I didn't file. Those are your husband's doing." "But you caused them." "No. I enforced a contract Trevor signed. What he chose to do in response is his decision." "Dad, please. I'm begging you." "For what?" "For mercy." The word hung in the air. I looked at my middle child, the peacemaker, the one who always tried to smooth things over, and I saw someone who'd never actually taken a stand, never actually defended me, never actually been on my side when it mattered. "Grace, if I show you mercy now, what will you learn?" "That you love me." "I do love you, but love doesn't mean enabling. It doesn't mean rescuing you from consequences you earned." "So you're just going to watch me suffer?" "I'm going to let you grow, and growth hurts." She stared at me. "You've changed." "No, I've stopped pretending." "Pretending what?" "That being a doormat was the same thing as being a good father." "You were never a doormat." "I let you walk all over me for years, canceled plans, ignored calls, dismissed concerns. I accepted it all because I was afraid of losing you. And now? Now I've already lost you. So there's nothing left to be afraid of." She sat back down. "I don't know this version of you. This version is the real one, the one I should have been all along." We sat in silence for a long moment. Then she asked, "Do you hate us?" "No." "Do you love us?" "I love the children you used to be. The adults you became? I don't really know them." "That's heartbreaking." "Yes, it is." She stood, walked to the door, stopped. "I miss Mom," she said quietly. "So do I." She'd know what to do. She'd tell you to take responsibility for your choices. She'd tell you to forgive us. Maybe, but she's not here, so we both have to figure this out ourselves. Grace left without saying goodbye. I sat in the growing darkness and thought about my wife, about what she'd actually say if she could see this, whether she'd be proud or disappointed, whether she'd understand or condemn. I'd never know, but I suspected she'd be on my side, And if she could forgive them, maybe I could too. Eventually, but not yet. December 30th, 2 days before the new year. I spent the morning doing nothing, sat in my recliner, drank coffee, stared at the wall. Suspension with pay meant I had money but no purpose, time but no direction, freedom but no destination. At 10 a.m. my phone rang. Patricia. Robert, we need to talk. About? The lawsuits. The company's legal team reviewed them. They're recommending we settle. Why? Because fighting 3 separate suits, even frivolous ones, costs more than settling. And the publicity is bad for business. So you're throwing me under the bus. We're protecting our interests, just like you protected yours. What does settlement look like? Daniel gets 6 months free storage, Trevor gets contract nullification and 3 months free HVAC service. Ethan gets building access restored with priority scheduling. And me? You agree to stay away from all 3 of them. No contact, no interference, no enforcement actions involving their businesses. For how long? Permanently. I laughed. Actually laughed. You want me to sign away my right to do my job? We want you to sign away your right to interact with your family through work channels. They violated contracts, and they're offering to settle those violations with compensation. Take it. No. Robert, this isn't optional. The company is settling with or without your cooperation. The question is whether you want severance or not. You're firing me? We're offering a separation package, early retirement, full benefits, generous buyout, but only if you agree to the settlement terms. And if I don't? Then we terminate you for cause. No severance, no benefits, and you still can't work with their businesses because we'll assign them to other coordinators. This is extortion. This is business, same as what you did to your kids. The comparison stung because it was accurate. How much is the buyout? $120,000, plus continued health insurance until you're Medicare eligible. I did the math. It was more than fair. Probably more than I'd get if I fought. And I never work with Daniel, Grace, or Ethan's businesses again? Correct. What if I take a job somewhere else? Different company? The restriction follows you personally, not the company. So I'm blacklisted from my own children. You're separated from a conflict of interest. I closed my eyes. Send me the paperwork. You're agreeing? Do I have a choice? There's always a choice, Robert. No, there isn't. She hung up. I sat with my phone in my hand and tried to process what had just happened. 23 years. Gone. Wiped away. All because I'd enforced the same contracts I'd been enforcing for decades. Except that wasn't true. This happened because I'd finally stopped being convenient. At noon, the doorbell rang. I looked through the window. Daniel and Ethan, together. I opened the door. We heard about the settlement, Daniel said. Congratulations, you won. Can we come in? Why? Because we need to talk about what happens next. I stepped aside. They walked in, stood awkwardly in my living room. Where's Grace? I asked. With Trevor, trying to work things out. Good luck to her. Daniel cleared his throat. Dad, we didn't want it to go this far. Could have fooled me. We were angry. We overreacted. You sued me. Multiple times. That's not overreacting. That's warfare. Ethan spoke up. You started it. I enforced contracts. You weaponized your position against your own family. I held you accountable for the first time in your lives. By destroying our businesses. Your businesses are fine. Inconvenienced. Not destroyed. Daniel stepped forward. Look, we're here to offer an olive branch. What kind? The lawsuits go away. Completely. Dismissed with prejudice. No record. In exchange for? You accept the settlement, take early retirement, and we all move on. Move on to what? To being a family again. I stared at him. You think that's possible? It has to be. We're all we have. No, you have spouses, careers, lives. I have nothing. And you're fine with that as long as I'm not in your way. That's not true. Isn't it? You're not here because you miss me. You're here because the lawsuits are expensive and embarrassing. You want them gone. Ethan, we want this over. So do I. But over doesn't mean reconciliation. Daniel, then what does it mean? It means you live your lives, I live mine. We acknowledge we're related but act like we're not. That's cold. That's honest. They looked at each other. Some silent communication I couldn't read. Fine, Daniel said, if that's how you want it. It is. Then sign the settlement. We'll drop the suits, and we'll never bother you again. Deal. They turned to leave. I stopped them. One question. Daniel turned back. What? Do you regret Christmas? Not the consequences, the actual moment, mocking me in the group chat, laughing about it. He hesitated. It was mean. That's not what I asked. I regret that it led here. Again, not what I asked. Another pause. No, he said quietly. I don't regret the joke, it was funny. We were blowing off steam. You were being annoying about the dinner. We vented. Thank you for your honesty. Does that change anything? No, just confirms what I already knew. Ethan spoke up. What's that? That you're exactly who I thought you were, and I'm done pretending otherwise. They left. I stood in my living room and felt something I hadn't felt in days. Relief. Not happiness, not satisfaction. Just relief that the pretending was over, that the performance of family had finally ended. I was alone, officially, permanently, and I was okay with it. At 3 p.m. I signed the settlement papers electronically, sent them back to Patricia, got an automated confirmation. Done. At 4 p.m. I got a text from Grace. Trevor's not coming back. It's over. I typed, I'm sorry. She didn't respond. At 5 p.m. I made dinner, ate it, cleaned up. At 6 p.m., I sat in my recliner and tried to figure out what came next. Early retirement meant time, lots of it. No more buildings to manage, no more vendor relationships, no more access codes and contract reviews, just time, empty, purposeless time. I wondered if this was what my wife had felt in her last days. Not physical pain, but purposeless time. Waiting for an end that seemed both inevitable and impossibly far away. At 7 p.m. someone knocked on my door. I didn't recognize the car in my driveway. Opened the door anyway. A woman, 50s, professional clothes, carrying a briefcase. Robert Hensley? Yes? I'm Jennifer Caldwell. I'm a mediator. Your children hired me to facilitate a family meeting. I'm not interested. I understand. But they're willing to pay my fee regardless. I'm here to extend the invitation. What kind of meeting? Structured dialogue. Each person gets uninterrupted time to speak. Then we work through issues systematically. The goal is understanding, not resolution. Understanding of what? Of how things fell apart. And whether they can be partially repaired. They can't. How do you know without trying? Because I know my children. Do you? Or do you know the versions of them you're angry at? I considered that. Same thing. Maybe, but maybe not. People surprise you. Not in my experience. She handed me a card. Meeting scheduled for January 2nd, 7 p.m., neutral location. Address is on the card. If you decide to come, come. If not, no one will chase you. She left. I looked at the card. Address was for a counseling office downtown. I threw it in the trash. Then, an hour later, pulled it back out. Not because I thought it would help, but because I was curious. Curious if they'd actually show up. Curious if they'd actually try. Curious if there was anything left worth salvaging. Probably not. But I had nothing else to do.